And we are live. Good morning, everybody. Happy Sunday. Welcome back to the Legacy FHP YouTube channel, the Legacy Foundation for Human Progress, aka the Planetary Headquarters. That's right, the Planetary Headquarters for all of your celestial information. And we're doing another Forbidden Scrolls live. I love doing Forbidden Scrolls, it's our bread and butter. We like reading all the
Honest.
texts that you're not supposed to be reading, all the shh. You read that? Yes, we read it. We dissect it. We analyze it. We want to know what all the cults are thinking, all the different religions are thinking, and all the woo woo UFO crystal stuff. We want to know about it so that we can synthesize it and help us better navigate these murky waters that we currently call 21st century Earth. You know me.
That's right.
I'm Dedrick Baker at XDBakeTheWise on Instagram, joined by my brother Magma Sloth, Tyler
What's
Barker.
up?
All of our socials will be in the description. And well, we're just gonna have fun with it today. We're gonna read through the Keys of Enoch, key 108. Very cryptic text written by J.J. Hurtak, who can be considered the grandfather of Egyptian esoterica or esoteric Egyptology, however you want to put it. This guy is talking about the current events that are coming into light today. People have done these scans using a technique known as Synthetic Aperture Radar, and they're doing it in new, novel ways. Some people say controversial ways, but the information and data that they are revealing matches up with what J.J. Hurtak said in his 1973 book called The Keys of Enoch, talking about secret chambers, temples, and complexes found under the Giza plateau that help correlate what various scholars and various, mystery woo-woo people have been saying throughout the ages, that this is some type of electromagnetic or magnetohydrodynamic energy source. And we're also saying, and Hurtak was also saying, not only is it an energy source, it's actually a consciousness vehicle. It's like think of like a rocket launch pad, but for consciousness. And when you go into the sarcophagus at the right time, it'll shoot your consciousness over up to like Orion or a different constellation or a different star system. We think that the chambers that were currently found, well, if the data is accurate, if these chambers are really there, they could be part of this consciousness teleportation system that links our Earth's internal core that generates a big magnetic field. It links our Earth's gravitational field to other star systems and creates like a star highway. And that's what we're going to dive into today. We're going to throw a lot of gnarly theories around because that's what we like to do. So I hope you guys enjoy the ride. Before we dive into it, if this is your first time on the channel, I do want to ask you guys to subscribe. Rub up softly against that subscribe button and it's going to pay you dividends in the future. You're going to be up to date with all of the cosmic scientific information and also synthesizing that with the spiritual side of reality. So hit that subscribe button. If you're already subscribed, welcome back. Let's get into it, baby. You got something to say?
All right. Yeah, the new findings under the pyramid. Um, it's there's a lot of debate as to the validity of the technique that was used, this synthetic aperture radar, which is generally most people who use it say it's great for getting a tomography of a landscape from space. The radar is actually a payload attached to a satellite going over orbit. And the big debate is that you actually can't scan that deep. It's impossible. You're just reflecting the radar off the surface. Um, these techniques that this Italian team of scientists have uncovered, they've been working for years on this since at least 2019, I believe, maybe a little before that. It's been a work in progress, but they've been developing a technique to actually scan acoustic uh, acoustic waves, like interference, off of the surface, comparing different images, like different scans of the same region, using what they call interferometry, interferometry, I believe that's it. Looking at the interference patterns between two images. Now, usually this process is done, you have a satellite, it takes about like 2 weeks to get back to that same spot, and you compare the images there. They've developed a special way to get these scans using multiple satellites of the same location at the same time, and scanning within the acoustic range of interference to pick up seismic waves. They're actually able to get kind of these seismic echoes from deep within any given structure. Now I actually got some stuff pulled up here I had meant to share last time, but I'm better suited to be able to share it this time. So I'll go ahead and share my screen here. So this is a 3D render, a little mock-up of what they claim to have interpreted. 8 massive columns going deep beneath the pyramid with these spiral-looking structures going down. And apparently below this there are 2 large cube-like cavities even further down. Very mysterious if this is legit. The implications are wild. I mean, if that's true, what does that imply? You know, was that a city? Did people go down here? Was it actually built, or are they natural formations like magma columns or something like that? Well,
Yeah, it would be interesting if it was natural formations, because I don't think magma tubes would be so geometrically separated, unless this is an extrapolation and like you can't really tell they're like that. And it's just kind of like channels and they're kind of like filling it in with their creative imagination. But I mean, even if you had 10 channels next to each other like that, is that likely? I don't know. Or some people are saying that it could be ghost images because it's a new technology that there's ghosting. Some people say the reason why there's 5 of those quote unquote king's chambers at the top, that shows you that there's like ghosting in the technique of getting the data. So I don't know.
We can't rule that out. Yeah. This is from that Italian conference. You can actually see some of the scans they were looking at here. You know, they're all very kind of blurry blobs, very much up to interpretation.
Blurry
but this
blobs.
is how they interpreted it. On the left here, you can see this kind of lopsided image. You know, for artistic effect, they turned it at an angle, but you can see the columnar structures right here that they were detecting. And this is an up close view, kind of zoomed in on it. That's kind of where they're getting the spiral. Still kind of up to interpretation. If I skim ahead here a little bit, I'm sold.
I've never seen such an amazing cleaning product. It's just like magic.
Ads.
This incredible
product. Now you got the playing ads for the man.
So if I skip ahead a bit, here they show kind of a better looking view. So this would be the base of the pyramid right here. And these are the columns stretching straight down. And you can actually see these little ridges in it. That's where they interpret the spiral going down. Because you can see it in all of these. I don't know.
Okay,
I mean,
for my Italian speakers out there, el primo risultato ci ha lasciati interditi.
What is that? The prime
Esistevano autostrutture geometrici verticali accoppiate. I know. Sorry, I'm just having fun right now. That's what it says on the screen if you're just listening, because these are Italian researchers.
Yeah, there is an auto-generated subtitles. I'm not sure how accurate this is.
Dalla tomografia, l'altezza di 137 metri. Quindi
yeah, he goes on talking about it. Yeah, real fluent Italian speaker right there.
Yeah, that's pretty cool though. Yeah, you're right. It does show columns. It does show columnar structures that seem to have some type of spiral architecture. Interesting.
Yeah. They got a lot of heat from this presentation, bringing up kind of some esoteric ideas. This one guy uses freaking gematria to break down some of the numbers and the significance of the numbers, where he's adding up the numbers and the angelic significance of the numbers.
Yeah.
You know that he lost a lot of credibility points just for that. But I mean, you know what? These guys are entitled to their beliefs. They're going to interpret it however they will. I mean, they're just excited about their findings. Um, but actually, just yesterday, Project Unity dropped an interview with these scientists, including Filippo Biondi. He is responsible for the actual algorithms that he's using to process the SARS. I got a quick little clip here of him kind of explaining how he came to these conclusions.
Or 40 kilohertz, which are acoustic.
Oh, yeah. And I got it sped up like 1.5 times because he's struggling to speak English, so he takes a long time to pronounce each word.
Which is acoustic information. So the azimuth focusing process is made by sound. Okay, by sound. Then how works my technique? Instead to synthesize in order to have the maximum azimuth spatial resolution, we only use a part of the orbit to produce a lower azimuth resolution synthetic aperture radar image. But the rest of the orbit, we use the rest of the orbit in order to extrapolate, to grab from the Earth, from the Earth surface, the sound, in order to utilize the radar as a microphone,
Right.
a giantest.
So you kind of get the idea. The interview's
So
worth
that's
checking
what
out.
I was saying in part one. So if you haven't seen part one, guys, this is part two. Go check out part one. It's the
That's
live
right.
stream we did last week, or earlier this week. But it's what I was saying. So he's synthesizing two different types. He's taking like one synthetic aperture radar picture in that one spot, and then he says for the rest of the orbit, he's using it to measure acoustic waves.
That's right.
And then he's synthesizing the two.
That's right. And this is a clip from that interview, the Robert Grant interview. I had meant to play this last time, but you know what? We
Hey, it's
ended
part
up
two,
with
man.
part two, so it worked out.
This is the bottom of the barrel. Everything we forgot to talk about. I'm just kidding.
That's right. The juicy stuff that settles at the bottom of the barrel. So,
delicious.
this Dr. Manu Safesada, he explains it really well, how they actually came about these results.
Do you know what the other applications this has been used for? This synthetic aperture radar technology?
Yes. Yeah. This is actually a specialized version of, for example, interferometry radar. So, but imagine you have a satellite that flies over a certain part of Earth. Before it will be able to revisit that part of Earth, several days will go by. I think it's something like 14, 16 days. So you can fly over, and then you fly over 2 weeks later, and then you compare those two images to see if there's been any ground change, right? So now we're talking about like earthquake changes or movements of major structures or people, cars, whatever. And the way you can then detect that is with an interference, right? You overlay the two images.
Yeah, it's interferometry.
And that's what's interferometry, right? But what Biondi has done, he's been able to use this method, detect motion with a single flyover. That's why it's so powerful, right? You don't need to have two different flyovers separated by days. It's one flyover. And what he does then, it's applying a special filter. It's called a sub-aperture filter. This is signal processing. And that technique, just to give you a rough idea, he basically takes the Doppler band, which is the entire bandwidth of all the Doppler signals that are coming back from the area, right? That whole band, in this case, is something like 24,000 hertz, 24 kilohertz, I think. And then what he does is he makes this filter by dividing that into half, right? So he takes one half of this band and he takes 2 copies of them. So 2 copies of one half of the Doppler band and overlays them with a very slight offset. And that offset is the filter that will reveal to him the microdoppler signal that he's looking for.
Interesting.
The microdoppler being that little tiny motion on the surface.
So this is
So
He's talking about
You can
micro
actually-
Doppler. Okay.
Micro Doppler, yeah, and you can actually check out their website here, harmonicsar.com. They have a lot of examples here, how they've applied this, because of course, for this to be valid, this pyramid wouldn't have been their first test. it would be good for them to test it on multiple structures that have known interior formations to prove that it actually works first. And sure enough, they actually did. You can go through here to different examples. They've got some dams they've analyzed. Here in this image, you can see the top of the dam and what they label concrete injections inside of the dam. Got another one here that I think is kind of cool because it's this curved structure, and you can actually see the curvature of the structure in the internal imaging. Natural environments, they do this cavity here. This one's interesting. It's a muon detector laboratory in Italy, I believe. And here you can actually kind of see they've overlaid this 3D render of what it looks like here. But you can kind of see the highlights where it lines up. It's very vague and hard to interpret. It would be hard to know what you're looking at if you didn't already know this was here. But, I mean, it's showing up. This is their look at the Great Pyramid of Giza, which was pretty revealing. You can see these large structures kind of going down.
Yeah, and look at
like
right there, the azimuth with the king's
Yeah,
chamber.
it's freaking King's Chamber. I mean, that's legit.
Yeah, and those are the same structures supposedly that they picked up under the Khafre pyramid, because this is the Khufu pyramid.
That's right.
This is the Khufu pyramid.
Yes.
So
Yes.
the chambers that are recently found is not the Great Pyramid, it's the Khafre pyramid, the middle one.
Yeah, these they found like 5 of them inside of this, and this is a pyramid they haven't been able to plunge inside of and access. There's no easy access, no doorways or anything. So it's unclear what's really inside of this. So for them to say, they found like these 5 structures here, that's very mysterious.
Yeah, right.
Yeah, then other applications, displacement field of power lines, they're able to use it for practical applications, possibly to find like power loss or something like that. One more cool example I found was this mining example. That's a very clear looking photo of this mine. You can see all the terraces right there. And they have access to some of their other papers. This was a paper from a few years back. What was this, like 2019, I think? Something like that. But here you can actually see an oil rig. They got a lot of the formations from the ship. And then scrolling down a bit, they show their process, how they actually process the data here. And this was this scientist, what was his name? Biondi. This was his expertise, was signal processing. So this is all very comfortable domain for him, but they get the raw data, splitter in north azimuth time domain sub apertures, and you can see they pass it through all these different filters, sub-pixel co-registration, pixel by pixel spectral analysis, and then they got some filters here in a little detailed view, pixel dilation. I believe that FFT is fast Fourier transform. BP filters, I think that's bandpass filters, oscillation modes. Pretty cool stuff. I mean, it's all pretty legit. Checks out.
A way to kind of understand what that chart was saying, and the FFT, like you said, the Fourier translation or transmission, whatever. It's He talks about that in the interview, the last interview you just played. We don't have to play the clip, but he talks about like, because there's so much noise in the data, how do we isolate the actual image that we're looking for from all the rest of the sensory input that we're getting? Because they're getting a bunch of just background radiation, background noise, and it's really hard. So the way I tell you guys a picture is, like I said before, imagine shining a laser at like a copper plate, right? A laser that's on like a cymbal, like, a drum cymbal. Imagine something like that, like a big cymbal, and you're shining a laser. You're shining a laser downward on it. If anything, that laser is like a laser rangefinder. So like binoculars that have those rangefinders, it's shooting a laser out, and it tells you how far that object is away, because the laser is going out and literally touching that object, so it can measure exactly the distance away. That's what you're doing, but you're shooting it down at a symbol. If anything moves that symbol, let's say like my friend kicks underneath the symbol. It's going to move the laser and the range is going to change. So I have a precise measurement of the change of the symbol based off what was kicked because my laser is touching it. Now let's add a truck driving by, and that truck is a specific frequency, and we can isolate that frequency. And then we also have some guy with a jackhammer down the street, and we can pick up his rhythm and pattern with a jackhammer. And then we have somebody doing the dishes right above me, and it's going into the symbol. Now, all these different vibrations are going into the symbol, but I just want to know exactly what the frequency of the vibration of, like, you know, let's say a dog scratching his back right next to the symbol. But you can't just figure out the pattern of the dog scratching who's right next to the symbol because it's kind of drowned out by the jackhammer and the train and the person washing dishes. But if you can understand exactly what frequencies they are, and you can isolate those, you can run a formula, aka one of those filters, and that filter will take away the jackhammer because we know the jackhammer frequency. The next formula will take away the person doing the dishes, that frequency. The next formula will take away the car going by. So the only thing we're left with is the dog scratching its back next to the symbol. And we can finally precisely measure that one frequency with that laser that's touching the symbol. That's like a crude explanation of how they're filtering out all these other noises that they're picking up with this SAR, if that makes sense.
That's a really good example, though, because yeah, you could isolate the jackhammer noise and all that, isolate the dishwashing noise and get just that dog scratching noise out of it. I saw an ad for a phone recently, it's a little far-fetched, but they're using the phone to like film someone jumping off a building and an ice cream truck goes by. You've probably seen it. And they actually use that, you know, under the hood, that would be for your transforms to isolate the sound of like the ice cream truck going by. I haven't looked into this yet, but I heard someone told me there was papers released showing a new technology where you could actually take like CCTV footage and see something like a water rippling in a cup and analyze that and actually pick up the audio happening in the room. It's just like that movie, Born Ultimatum. They used that, you know, that was like early 2000s and that was their sci-fi technology.
Yeah.
But sure enough, they actually have that technology and you could use that with satellites. Interesting. I mean, you know, NSA can really spy on you now.
So that's the technical process about how they came to the conclusion that their secret messianic Knights Templar complex is under the Giza plateau. I don't know. I'm just making that up. That's not really what they found, but it would be interesting. You go down there and you find like some Hindu Vedic texts. You go down there and find some emerald tablets, but the missing chapters. I read some stupid thing online. They're like a being is asleep down there and we're gonna wake him up. I'm like, oh please, dude. Ooh, so creepy. There's nothing in cosmic reality that could really scare me, to be honest with you. And I'm not trying to be a badass. Like those beings aren't real. All those shit you see in Hollywood and shit, it's not real. Satan, Lucifer, Caligastia, those are real, and that's as evil as it's gonna get. And they're not even like that. You know, like,
I don't know. I mean, there's this horror movie called The Pyramid where, you know, it's like a Cloverfield kind of shaking the camera and
I
they
know
go
what
into
you're
a
talking about.
pyramid.
I've never seen it though.
Anubis starts chasing him around, so you know Anubis might be sleeping down there.
Well, color me scared. Give me an M60.
Yeah, right.
Coming this
Bring it.
summer. No, but so we want to jump into something that this current event has highlighted. Picking up from episode 1, we're gonna jump into the Keys of Enoch, key 108. Shout out to JJ. Shout out to Desiree. We appreciate the work you guys are doing. Reached out to you guys, trying to get you guys on the podcast, so we're waiting on that. Keep it locked because they'll be on the podcast soon. And I guess a good segue would be to kind of bring up, jump right into the keys. But actually, before we jump into the keys, let's play a clip for them. Here, I'll share my screen.
Ooh,
Raw
okay.
horror. He kind of explains his thoughts and theories on what this entire structure is.
I love clips.
And you know, we love JJ, and
one of the few places that we've done a lot of the work. Mexico and Egypt have been our key places, even though we've gone all over the world.
Is the Giza Plateau we're standing upon, but beneath this is something even greater than the Great Pyramids of Giza, Egypt. There's a vast underground hydraulic system that we've been privileged to explore. And this would allow us to understand the energy alternatives the Egyptians were able to draw upon.
Right, and so you're looking, we'll say to my left on the picture there is the Great Pyramid, has the top cut off for those that aren't familiar, and then the middle pyramid and the smaller pyramid. But all of them, and in between that, not quite where we're standing, but further back, is the tomb of Osiris, which is 100 feet down. I'm not showing you pictures of that today because of our time, but basically, you know, it's part of the energy network of the entire complex.
So Osiris brings the music to the planet. And this is very important as we begin to experience this presentation. There's a music of the universe, a music of the spheres that runs through our vibratory system. And only by attunement with this vibratory frequency can we truly explore these sacred areas. The sacred grid comes alive as music fills our microtubules. In the energy field of our body, and through intonation and expressions that are sacred, becomes then a temple, a tabernacle, a vehicle in itself that takes us into a different level of experience.
Right, so what we're going to be doing today.
So that was pretty heavy hitting right there. Hurtak talking about that there's underground structures, what they just found, and this book was written in the 1970s, 1973. So there are underground structures, a hydraulic system that resonates with the plate tectonics of the Earth and the core of the Earth, the magnetohydrodynamics of the Earth. And he's saying this reveals keys to the acoustic. The acoustic world is a key part of this entire experience. He even talks about microtubules. So they were able to zoom in on a cell. And not only the cell wall, but the organelles of the cell, such as the mitochondria, the nucleus, and these are all floating in cytoplasm. And they realize that cytoplasm is like a jelly in your cell, but it can become rigid. And it becomes rigid in order to create little channels or pathways so that nutrients can flow through the cell. So if it wants to excrete waste, the cytoplasm will go into like a snowflake pattern, and all the cytoplasm will create little channels that the waste can go through. And the same thing with intaking nutrients. And then they zoomed in on the walls of the organelles and the walls of the cell, and they realized that there's little holes that it's called the permeable layer that allows nutrients and waste to go in and out of the cell and in and out of the organelles. On the face of every hole, these holes are called microtubules, and they were able to measure a different acoustic frequency at the face of every hole of the microtubule.
Wow.
So the microtubules will vibrate at a specific frequency and then alter the jelly, the cytoplasm in every cell. And they say that when they came to the conclusion that when you feel feelings like happiness, sadness, excitement, all of your jelly goes into a rigid pattern, like a crystalline formation. So you like literally create snowflakes with every cell in your body. All of that cytoplasm, all of that gel becomes rigid based off how you feel. And that's based off acoustic resonance with the microtubules in your body. This can be seen in cymatics when you play acoustics on water and it makes different patterns. This is what the microtubules are doing to the jelly on a cellular level in your body. He's saying that with intonation and mantra, that's why when you hear music, you get the feels, you get the vibes when you hear music.
That's right.
So when you do intonation and think certain thoughts, he's saying, that's the key to unlocking this consciousness pyramid, which is a vehicle. It's not just a stone megalith that we can awe at. No, it has a technical purpose and it's a vehicle. So he's explaining in that beautiful clip we just showed there. He is a little tiny on the screen. You can't really see him because they're doing a Zoom cast, but he's talking and he's still kicking. So go check out J.J. Hurtak, the Keys of Enoch. We're gonna jump into it right now, but I think Magma got something to share real quick.
You're stimulating my microtubules with this concept. That's a really cool connection there. You actually reminded me too, as soon as you started playing that J.J. Hurtak clip, I totally forgot about this, but in 2007, a little team of Egyptologists went on an expedition. This was, I believe, about a mile away from the Great Pyramid. They found what they call the Tomb of Birds. I'll play this little
Birds
clip
aren't real,
here.
dog. You mean the tomb of drones from the government?
Yeah, the Tomb of Ancient Government Drones.
They had them in Egypt.
So they go into this cavern. They actually find a bunch of little bird mummies stowed away, and then they find an entrance into a cavern that hasn't been fully explored. I'll play this little clip here so you can see what I'm talking about.
Of the entrance into Giza's lost cave system that we know now goes all the way
guy's
to
everywhere.
the second pyramid. And we have made this journey, and we're going to go over there, and we're going to tell you all about it.
How do they
when
call
we
it the
come
second
out.
pyramid?
Myself
It's a pyramid
and
of
Human.
Khafre. Have some respect.
Now we're approaching it, and we're going
Might be the main
this,
pyramid.
cliff here.
Exactly, and it's probably
as we
not even made
come
by Khafre.
and
So.
turn around, we can see in front of us.
So since then, since 2007, in their initial expedition, they reported this to the Egyptian government. Big mistake.
Yeah.
About their findings, they came back and they actually had barred up the entrance so no one can go in there anymore.
So one thing we have to remember about the Egyptian government, like Zahi Hawass and all them, is that they're all Muslim, and that it's, you know, they're very strict by the Quran, as everybody knows. It's just like the Jews are with the Torah, the Muslims are with the Quran. You know, you can't break any of the rules. They're very strict. So therefore, all of the Egyptologists, such as Zahi Hawass, all the famous ones in Egypt, the Egyptians themselves, they're all Muslim, and they cannot break the viewpoint of the Quran. So they can't say the world's older than 6,000 years old. That's why we force the Egyptian history into our 6,000-year-old world viewpoint, because that comes from that Judeo-Christian Muslim point of view, and it's a conflict of interest when they're in those positions. That's why they're so strict and don't accept anything other than like Old Testament timelines. It's very interesting.
Interesting. I actually wasn't aware of that, but that checks out. That's why they would be such sticklers about revealing new discoveries about the pyramids that could actually date it way back. What if it's 10,000 BC or something like that?
Yeah, created by the Atlanteans.
Yeah. So as they were exploring these chambers, they found a little opening.
Ooh, looks like The Descent. You ever seen that movie, The Descent, dude? Oh my god, it scared the frick out of me. For my 12-year-old viewers out there. I don't want to swear. I don't want to swear, you know. Swearing's bad. It's just about spelunking. It's like a horror movie set in like the caves.
I don't like it.
Yeah, I guess the plot was like ancient humans got stuck down there, and then they started breeding, and like they lost their eyeballs and became like transparent, and they're all creepy.
Oh god! Oh, that's terrifying.
Yeah.
Look, I love cave exploration, and
Dude, that looks beautiful. Look at that. That looks amazing.
The whole
oh wait, that's in
of,
Giza? Oh shit.
Yeah, so that's after going into this opening chamber, they find an entire cavern system. They go deep into this. It just keeps going. They describe it as dangerous. There's crevices you can fall and break your leg.
You can see some angles.
There's running water going through it, and it just keeps going. They turned back, reported their findings. Sure enough, it was all closed up afterwards. As they go deep into this, they actually do find markings on the wall that showed
the plumber's crack, baby.
Yeah, when they went deep down into this, they actually found engravings on the wall. They were just straight line markers for whatever reason, but it looks like they were carved out by humans. So people did actually travel deep down into this. They don't know exactly where it leads, if there's further passageways that connect even further, but it's very mysterious. I mean, cavern systems under the pyramids. That whole subject of deep underground military bunkers really scratches that itch for me, because I love the mystery of cave exploration, of caverns. And I'm really excited for next week's episode when we get into that subject, because, you know, it's like, on one hand, I have such a massive admiration for the engineering feats that go into it, and on the other hand, this ambivalence towards the military being kind of evil, even though it's the coolest thing ever, what human willpower can accomplish when people put their minds together. But then hiding the greatest cosmic secrets from the rest of the public. But anyway, yeah, they go deep into this cavern. Really cool, worth checking out. And yeah, they end up finding a cavern that's like pretty claustrophobic to go through. I think one guy goes through it. So that's showing they actually show up on a radar scan from satellite in 2007. But yeah, very very interesting. So it shows there are caverns under the pyramids. They might possibly connect. Oh yeah, they found snakes too. But yeah, that's all I wanted to
Yeah,
show
I got
there.
a clip. Before we jump into the reading, and then let's dive into some reading some keys, because I know that's what you guys came for. I'll share my screen.
Desiree.
If the sound does not come out, and if not, we'll just do it verbally. But one more slide actually on this, and this is important to see the energy that we were talking about. And this is from actually Russian research. They didn't really go to the pyramid, but they created the same geometries. And it's really electromagnetic properties of the Great Pyramid. So you can see these energy fields. They use radio waves, use electromagnetic waves that are connected with radio waves. And you can see the power that is inherent in this. So when we play this next picture, you're going to be hearing sound vibrations recorded in the king's chamber and the resonant vibrations that's there. And it's really, I have to say, more of a masculine vibration than a feminine vibration.
In the range of F sharp.
So that's kind of cool. Those are scans of it, not the pyramid, but they said they recreated the pyramid structure, and they scanned that with radar and electromagnetic. They blasted electromagnetic waves at it, and you can see the properties of that shape in itself, just inherently, how it kind of makes a warp above it, and it pushes some type of energy field down, or some type of, so like it kind of funnels it like a cone in a weird way. I don't know.
It's almost like a lens. Yeah.
Yeah,
Yeah,
exactly.
like a cone, like an amplifier. Yeah, Helmholtz resonator or something. Interesting. So could these structures underneath actually be a mechanism to capture that energy?
That's what I'm thinking, and then like amplify it and like just like create that sympathetic resonance, and maybe start warping time and space, like the Chinese satellite found. How they found the warps in time space bubbles above the Giza pyramids, like 6 months ago.
Wow.
We talked about that. We put it on the one of the live streams, but let's see what they got to say right now. So I want to show this clip, and then we'll jump into the reading, and it just shows you what the acoustic properties of the pyramids are.
And what we see here in terms of the coloring text is very similar to what is in the first plate or picture of the Book of Knowledge, Keys of Enoch, which is the multicolor aspect of the capstone. Until we see the multicolor aspect of the pyramid as a beacon of light, the Bible in stone, the blueprint of a higher physics and a higher mathematics, the human race cannot understand how the Great Pyramid is a cipher for all pyramidal temples, representing the heartbeat of the human race.
So this is a 2-minute clip. I'm not sure if I can hear it, so that's why I'm saying this. Let's listen. Again, it actually gives you also undertones so low that it puts your mind into a type of alpha state.
Ooh.
So it's crazy.
Actually
Can you
getting
hear
chills.
the reverberation and the resonance all the way throughout the pyramid? Yeah, it gives me chills too. So and it keeps going even after he stops. So he's making the entire
Amazing
pyramid
reverberation.
vibrate by singing in there. He was singing the Osiris chant, the Osiris, Isis, because Osiris and Isis. But that's really cool. I thought that video showed the acoustic properties of the pyramids and how it could somehow actually be this type of consciousness transportation vehicle. You've seen acoustic levitation and the ability to transmit data via sound waves. It's super interesting. I mean, sound waves are radio waves, they're light waves, gravitational waves, they're all waves. They're all raves, baby. But yeah, let's
Reading
dive
the
into this.
pyramid.
Let's start reading.
Yeah, it's amazing how the pyramid, especially the King's Chamber, is perfectly designed for acoustic reverberation. Like, you do get those harmonic overtones, and it lingers for a few seconds, much longer than like your average kind of reverberation situation.
Oh,
It's
by a
like,
lot. Yeah. Like in order to get that type of reverb, I think we do have to do it like digitally in a program.
Mm.
That shit actually has it just naturally in time and space. All right, I'm gonna start reading.
all right, I guess we'll start from 34.
Hell yeah.
Paragraph 34 on key 108, pick up where we left off roughly.
And to all the viewers right now, thanks for tuning in. I appreciate it. Shabalba knows what I'm talking about. He's talking about The Descent. He said, pretty scary movie. Sounds like First Temple from Ocarina of Time. Good connection.
Oh,
Good
yeah.
connection. That's what's up. That's what's up. Appreciate the chat. Thanks for those thoughts. Keep them coming, because you guys got any questions or got any stimulating thoughts, throw them in the chat. Also, if you're watching this, please hit that like button. It helps get this information to the front page. All it is a little finger swipe. If you ain't got fingers, then my bad. But if you got fingers, make sure you press that little like button.
You got to watch out. That's a Doug, a particularly dangerous Doug named Jabalba. Star Wars reference.
Oh, you're right. The Doug.
Remember that little Anakin?
Right, the Anakin. Yeah, he is a Doug. Shabalba. He's a cheater. Okay, 34. In order to understand the deeper significance of the numerous codes of the pyramid within the magnetic fields, we must understand that the models which eventually constituted the Great Pyramid were built over cycles of 36,000, 24,000, 18,000, 12,000, and 6,000 years by the Lords of Light. Under the direction of Enoch, Heru, and Tahuti, the Lords of Light built the pyramid from the top down by vehicle control. That is, out of the magnetic etheric spheres by magnetic flux line controls. That's trippy. So he's saying the pyramids were built from the top down via some type of vehicle that can control magnetic flux lines. So like I could imagine if you had some type of Merkaba vehicle or some type of UFO that can manipulate gravitational ley lines, gravitational flux lines in our Earth. Could you turn them on to a point where you can start making the rocks levitate within those two fields or lines, and then like kind of build it to how you want it to via your consciousness projection, because you're like using the craft to mimic the image that's in your mind and then making the force fields put it together. It's an interesting concept.
So it's still kind of vague, but is he implying it was built by a craft or possibly by celestial beings? Something like that?
Yeah, I mean, it could, because he refers to Merkaba as a vehicle. So that would technically be a celestial being itself. It wouldn't need to be a physical vehicle. I'm just using the craft imagery so that people could kind of understand it. But you're right. It doesn't have to be material craft either. It could just be a Merkaba vehicle, which you have. If you're listening to this and watching this, you have a Merkaba vehicle. It's your biofield. It's somewhat latent and passive at the moment, but you can activate it through action, vigorous stimulation, putting yourself in new experiences, learning, that kind of stuff. That supercharges your Merkaba field. That's why there's no bypass and cheating for life. That's why I always get mad when I say, thanks for watching the video, but fuck this video and get off your ass and go do something about it, Because watching these videos, it unlocks the mind, which is part of the mind body spirit complex. But in order to supercharge your biofield, supercharge your entire Merkaba personality field, you need to go out and act, put yourself in new experiences. This does count as a new experience because you probably are learning from this, but there's a difference between book smart and street smart, or being smart in the practice in the field versus just theory versus practice. You can stay inside the classroom all day thinking about stuff, but until you actually go out into the field and do it, you're not going to be a master. Like, you don't want to just get someone who learned everything about a subject in a classroom but had never gone out and actually done it. But if you have another person who actually went out and did it, you're gonna be like, I want to learn from that guy. He has the real world experience. So thank you for watching the videos. But charge that Merkaba field, baby, and go out and experience life. And that's what the fucking angels are doing. Think about the experiences that the angels are doing so that they can actually manipulate huge granite limestone and bring them together. Their personality fields must be very supercharged. And what did they do to get like that? You know, these are the questions.
That's the mind, body, spirit triad. I mean, you should always constantly work your mind, learning new things, but you apply it through your body. You know, we're given these bodies for the purpose of navigating through time, space, meeting others and serving others and helping others build a better world around us. And that touches on the spiritual aspect. You can only practice true spirituality by introducing your personality around others, because you have unique perspectives and insights and skills that you can actually share with others. And I mean, that's real mind, body, spirit progress right there, making the world a better place, serving with your personality. And in the Urantia community, we call that power personality synthesis. Your personality is a gift, so don't keep it all to yourself.
Don't be selfish. Don't deprive the world of your beautiful light. But if you got a dark light, we'll come and extinguish it. No, I'm kidding. We'll come help you out, dog. We'll make that light beautiful. I've been in dark places before, but we're not here to talk about that. 36. The earlier pyramidal designs were built according to the previous gravitational magnetic shields of the Earth, which exist on the higher planes. The present Great Pyramid was built while a Merkaba vehicle of light, in the shape of a pyramid, was stationed in the basin at Giza, creating the surrounding energy fields which could move the magnetic lines of force and the physical materials. Says it right there, folks. Direct paragraph telling you exactly how the pyramid was made. While a Merkaba vehicle of light, so it could have been like a master controller, a physical controller, any number of celestial personalities who have that gravitational power presence. And then it says the Merkaba provided the energy to modulate the gravitational flux lines so that they could somehow move the physical materials. Maybe this could be some type of celestial science by the Melchizedeks, which is what the Keys of Enoch says, but it could be unrevealed in the Urantia book. I don't know.
Interesting.
Mm-hmm. The Merkaba was then exemplified in the Sphinx, which symbolized how the higher evolution and the appearance of man could travel through the solar spectrum of creation. Enoch explained to me how the geometrical construct of the pyramid stands as a testimony to his first appearance upon the planet, and it also contains the mystery of the capstone, which is to be understood as the return of Enoch. The Great Pyramid's base side is constructed with a length of 365.242 Hebrew sacred cubits. This number, carrying a floating decimal, also mathematically appears in other places in the pyramid and is considered one of the most important numbers in stone. Not only is it the number of days of our solar year, but it is also the number expressed in decimals that Enoch lived on Earth. That is 365 years, 88 days, and 9 hours, according to the ancient texts. I didn't know that.
Whoa.
Wow. Because the Bible says that Enoch lived for 365 years, then walked with God, and was no more, for he was not. Thus, Enoch, that's interesting how that correlates to 365 Hebrew sacred cubits and the days of the year. And that's the pyramid's base side. That's really trippy.
Yeah.
Thus, Enoch's cosmological time cycle is coded within the Enoch circle, which can be expressed numerically as 365.242. Our present cycle is only one of many important cosmological cycles which must be understood in the true astronomy of the magnetic cycles of the planispheres. This includes the rotation of the Earth in relation to the magnetic equator of Saturn, using the formula of the spiritual mathematical set of 101. And that's referring to that little, I don't know, what do you want to call it? That little grid picture that we went over in episode
Oh,
one,
okay, yeah.
1 page previous.
One
Showing
three
for the people
one
right
nine
there.
one nine.
Yeah. Also like a
Okay.
coordinate grid formula. Yeah.
It's worth noting with the Hebrew sacred cubit they're talking about. In the Bible, the reference to that, in the Old Testament, which Christians and Hebrews share alike, the whole cubit structure came from the Hebrews, but the Hebrews, of course, as the story goes, kind of had their origin being captive within the Egyptian civilization, and so it's no stretch of the imagination to speculate that the Hebrew people, in their association with the Egyptian culture, probably would have got a lot of their esoteric ideas from the Egyptian mystery schools and all that, and carried that over into their Kabbalah and all that kind of stuff.
Oh yeah.
So, yeah,
Most
it
definitely.
makes sense. Who knows how ancient that cubit system really is?
I think the first human ever to exist created it on his own. Our present cycle. No, I don't believe that. That's bullshit. It's a joke. Bad jokes. So what we do here, our present cycle is one that I've already read. Moreover, man must see how the pyramid shows the salient features of successive geophysical changes upon our planet, and when the magnetic parameters of our solar system will enter an electromagnetic null zone. The blueprints of geophysical change is personified by the Great Pyramid upon the face of the Earth, interfaced with the other geomagnetic pyramidal points of the Earth. The pyramid was built out of the magnetic flux line controls in relationship to a magnetic blueprint conceived in relationship to the belt of Orion and the sacred numbers 1335 and 1290. The additional functions of magnetic displacement that take place at the end of magnetic cycles. These sacred numbers show the missing functions of the great magnetic shifts, which give the geomagnetic alignment of the grid of the northern hemisphere, the southern hemisphere, and the surrounding light grids, which come together at the point of 30 degrees, 36 degrees longitude east, and 30 degrees, 33 degrees latitude north. Is that talking about the Tropic of Cancer and the Tropic of Capricorn, maybe?
Perhaps.
Interesting. And I'm going for a stretch. I don't know if this is true or not. If you superimpose that little grid structure over the planet Earth, I think that'll tell you where the Tropic of Cancer and Capricorn are. But whatever.
It's a little outside of my domain of expertise right there.
Yeah, we'll have to go through it one day. Make a blender model.
Yeah.
This point in the Earth is the interlocking key to a vast immortal structural pattern operating between the heavens and the Earth. This structure is not only composed of the icosahedron geometry connecting the grid points on the Earth, but also includes pentagon arrangements, which form a dodecahedron geometry superimposed on different energy level around the Earth. There it is, that icosahedron again brought up. That was in the Da Vinci Codex Atlanticus, right? Let's pull that up. I still haven't found a great image of it, but it's for the people right there. He draws icosahedrons and dodecahedrons within the pyramid, which is very interesting. And then he draws like the shafts and even draws a chamber underneath it with columns. And this is hand drawn by Da Vinci from the Codex Atlanticus. Very cool picture. But again, there's the mention of the icosahedron.
Yeah, that's very interesting.
Furthermore, those two... What the fuck? I lost my spot. Oh yeah, okay. Furthermore, those two lattices are surrounded by a hexahedron, which transmits divine cube functions and is in conjunction with our sun, supporting the energy functions of the Earth. Through this complex crystalline form, human life and various degrees of extraterrestrial life can all share the local life space in the energy fields of the same orb, only on different lattice grids. Seen from the perspective of the higher evolution, life upon this planetary orb is a radiated series of biological events, primarily lattice-like in nature. Through the crystalline lattice, the higher evolution controls the various biological kingdoms by organizing the intergravitational and interradiational effects of lattice merging with lattice. That's pretty interesting. That's cool. So when he means by lattice fields, he's talking about like your aura. You emit a biological field. And if you could measure that, superimpose a grid over that field, or a lattice grid, that would be your Merkaba field. It's like, if you can kind of imagine looking at one of those old school diagrams of just a computer diagram of empty space, and it just has like those green horizontal and vertical axes to measure grid space areas. That's what he's talking about, lattices. So like, I'm emanating an energy lattice. So as the camera in front of me is is emitting an energy lattice. The farther away I get from the camera, the less of a probability of my lattice interacting with that camera's energy lattice. The closer I get to it, the closer our fields come closer, and then our lattices start integrating, and the probability of us interacting goes up because our lattices start to interact. That's what he's saying the higher evolution looks at. When they see in the Mirancha vision, when they see in spirit vision, they're not really seeing physical, organic reality. They see the spiritual lattice field structures of everything. And based on the lattice field structure that you're emitting, they can alter the cellular division, because the cell division on the bottom part of it, that's a byproduct of these lattice grids. So they can speed up their evolution or slow it down. That's how they can do that instantaneous healing. And that they can also, it just says that's how they interact with biological kingdoms, by organizing the intergravitational and interradiational effects of lattice merging with lattice. So I'm just giving you insight on what they're talking about. When they say higher evolution, those are the celestial personalities. So when they see crystalline lattice, he's talking about just biological fields emitting grid-like structures or lattice-like structures. The frequency modulations of the higher evolution can allow seed populations to climb Jacob's ladder into the next realm of the crystalline staircase, which eventually leads from this planetary orb into other lattice dimensions, which we cannot even see at this time. Through these grids, the higher evolution conducts its bioengineering and transmits its information to the members of the human race who are sensitized to these geometric harmonics. So like every time you think a thought, you emit a new type of dimensional lattice. You know, I think the thought of like happiness or wanting to spread the message or helping other people achieve their mind, body, spirit potential. Now my lattice field changes, and you can scan my crystalline lattice and see, oh, these are the thoughts that are within his mind, body, spirit complex. Magma's over here sharing screens.
Yeah, I actually pulled up talking about the icosahedron within the pyramid and all that.
Oh, is that what you're looking for?
Yeah,
so you're staring at your screen intensely.
Yeah. I had to pull it up because you keep mentioning wanting a clear photo of this pyramid. So this was, again, from that Robert Grant interview. Here he actually shows a close-up image of the Da Vinci drawing of the pyramid, and he kind of breaks it down.
Looking from the west side.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm. Down towards the Sphinx.
Down to where the Sphinx. Exactly. So what I started noticing is like, okay, you see where I've got these arrows? Mm-hmm. So I'm like, are there any structures within Khafre Pyramid? First of all, does the slope match? Well, yeah, the slope perfectly matches. Mm-hmm. And the exact positions of the boxes that Da Vinci basically called out, and this is before Belzoni even got inside there. So how is it even possible that they're matching even the tunnel structures in the first burial chamber on the lower and the upper level, and then the entry point?
The Robbers Tunnel.
The Robbers Tunnel, and everything is like matching to this. I was like, what? How could this even be?
Right. It's bizarre. I agree.
Yeah, that is trippy.
Well, first
You
of
like
all,
drew it perfectly
Yeah, seriously.
with the chambers and everything. And that's a Da Vinci sketch. That makes it even crazier.
at this point.
Yeah, it's pretty wild. And this is a kind
So
of
there's the full sketch. Yeah.
zoomed out view. Yeah, full sketch. You can see he drew these columns and some kind of structures underneath.
Look,
This
he's drawing
down at the
Merkabah's
bottom.
down there and like flowers of life and stuff.
Yeah, this is like separate. I don't think he's depicting what's under the pyramid, but he's kind of breaking down some geometries. Which I see some points circled and lines going out. I'm not sure what he's trying to interpret there. That mastermind Da Vinci. But if I skim over to this part of the video, you can see. Oh crap! It always happens when I skip around. Robert Grant has actually highlighted. He's overlaid some images of these geometries, the icosahedron, dodecahedron, stuff like that. And I mean, Da Vinci, he drew this.
Like,
What was he
why?
trying to portray there?
That's crazy. And
And
that
it kind of lines
kind
up with the keys.
yeah, it lines up with the keys, and he's talking about lattice structures, and maybe these are more of the lattice structures he's talking about as opposed to perfectly like XYZ chart grids. Maybe he's talking about geometrical lattice structures. So not straight lines, but more like curved lines and shapes. The plot thickens.
The plot thickens. What was Da Vinci aware of? What was he trying to tell us?
Well, he told the Yin Yang twins apparently 3, 6, 9. So where are we? You want to read for a bit?
Yes, I remember you read the blueprint. I think you were on 44.
No, I was on like 49.
Oh, okay.
No.
Whoops.
Actually 51. Yeah.
Okay, here we go. Through these grids, the higher evolution conducts its bioengineering and transmits information to the members of the human race who are sensitized to these geometric harmonics. Moreover, in the larger blueprint of creation, the pyramid is the blueprint for a double helix between a blue and white star system and our solar magnetohydrodynamic program, whereby mutual programming allows pyramidal coordinates to structure consciousness evolution to go on. So I think what he's saying there when he's talking about transmitting information to the members of the human race who are sensitized to these geometric harmonics, the way I interpret that is other truth seekers from different cultures kind of getting up on their pyramids and tuning in, and maybe all these pyramids were capable of communication because they were placed on this grid formation, this lattice, if I interpret that correctly. Besides the stellar evolution, which is coded within the pyramid, there is a comparison change reflecting consciousness evolution. Here, the consciousness continuum from our star evolution to a blue-white star evolution is manifested through the code ZH.T, the pyramidal energy consciousness which rests over the heads of the initiates, enabling them to combine multiple pyramid energy functions in different energy levels of creation. Okay. This ability to function with multiple levels of intelligence makes use of the wisdom of Imushk, the lords of central control, to attune and project consciousness thought forms from one evolutionary pyramidal face to another energy field. This is done by the modulation of gravitational waves transmitted through a pyramidal energy template that is centered over the head. This consciousness template uses spiritual energy as opposed to the natural pyramidal energy vibrations of the planet. The ZH.T code is the code of communication given from central control to those who are committed to freeing man from the rounds of earthbound evolutions. Now, I'm assuming the ZHT code he's talking about is laid out elsewhere in the book, because I know he's got like tables with all these codes and stuff like that.
Yeah, exactly. I was gonna say that, but we're not gonna dive into it now. But yeah, exactly.
It's a whole rabbit hole. You got to read the whole book to get that.
Pretty much. But I like how he's referring back to the Orion, this place of the Umsak, the region of the imperishable gods, the lords of the central control, and
Interesting.
how just talking about pyramidal energy, how they're projecting thought forms from Orion down to us, and that the Great Pyramid acts as like an amplifier radio antenna. Like I said in episode 1, you can only do so much with your mind body spirit complex that has been given to you. We are a lower dimensional form. We're the lowest of the low when it comes to intelligent will creatures in the universe. So sometimes we might need to amplify that. So we can pick up those broadcasts from the universe and Orion, but we're immature creatures. This is crazy. I just got a Urantia book that came to my mind right now. Urantia book quote, I'll pull it up right now. But
Okay.
so because we don't have that apparatus, our mind body spirit apparatus is strong, but it's not perfectly strong to capture the universe broadcasts. The pyramid will act as a receiving dish and a telecommunication device to help us amplify this data. I'm pulling a Urantia book quote right now before I forget.
Nice. Yeah, because I would argue that because we are indwelt with our thought adjuster, our father fragment of infinity, through the thought adjuster's integration with our mind, we could receive higher messages from the greater cosmos. But I know that takes a lot of effort on our part to attune with our thought adjuster. Maybe through like a structure that kind of augments our capabilities. It's a more foolproof connection, something like that.
Yeah, and he's talking about like placing that pyramid above your head that allows it to amplify, which he just puts, he said that in the same paragraph, right? Yep, the pyramidal energy template that is centered over the head, whatever. And then he talks about the placing the crystal pyramid energy cap over the crown chakra. That's in the next paragraph.
I'll read that paragraph. I'll read that paragraph real quick because I feel like it kind of ties in because he talks about the crown chakra. He says, the placing of the crystal pyramidal energy cap over the crown chakra of an evolving humanity demonstrates how the consciousness of man can be attached to other space-time dimensions so as to experience the face forms of the Lords of Light, who will reconstruct the present biochemical program to be in tune with the changing electromagnetic frequency. So, is my understanding
what does that
you
sound
could probably...
like?
I mean, yeah, it kind of sounds like tapping into your higher self, if you want to put it that way. But like the crown chakra, in my kind of image of it, it seems like that's your connection with your thought adjuster. So finding a way to kind of augment that connection.
What about this when it says, so the crystal pyramidal energy cap will be placed over your crown chakra, right? And then now think about this concept too. And you'll be attached to other time-space dimensions, and then you will reconstruct this present biochemical program to be in tune with changing electromagnetic frequencies. He's talking about the Mirantia worlds right there. Remember
okay.
in the Mirantia world, I'll pull up that quote too. It says you get rekeyed, you get retuned.
Yeah,
You keep jumping
that's
to
right.
570 bodies. So he's talking about you will resurrect your biological form to get retuned. And he's talking about going to the mansion worlds. That's Jerusalem, where he calls the New Jerusalem. And then he says you'll get a device to help you perfect your space communications. Now let's...
For clarification, for those who don't know what we're talking about, the mansion world ascent, the Mirantia realm is a gradient between the physical and the spiritual. And as you ascend, there's this whole progressive evolutionary career. You continue existing for thousands and thousands of years. And as you're existing to reach higher levels, you'll need to get your body kind of rekeyed, retuned to get to these successive ascending levels. And this is just a perpetual progressive experience deep into the afterlife. And that's what this quote he pulled up is going to be touching on.
Yep. Just a quick little Urantia book quote to back up what you're talking about. The time spent on the 70 training worlds of transition Mirantia culture associated with the Edentia age of mortal ascension is the most settled period in an ascending mortal's career up to the status of a finaliter. This is really the typical Mirantia life. while you are rekeyed each time you pass from one major cultural world to another, you retain the same Marantra body. And there are no periods of personality unconsciousness. So they're just talking about you and your progress in the mansion worlds. So he's talking about the pyramids being queued up with Orion, because that's where you go after you die. And he's saying that's New Jerusalem. The Urantia book calls that Jerusalem. So or the left star of Orion's belt would be Jerusalem, where you go after you die. And then there's planets there. And every planet is a training sphere. Then you have to go through all of these planets to graduate the mansion world scheme. And Jesus talked about this. He says, my Father's house has many mansions. When I die, I will go there to prepare a place for you, to receive you unto me. If this were not true, I would not have told you so. So that's what Jesus talked about. Jesus knew about the mansion worlds. He knew that after you die, you're going to go to a place and he's going to prepare a place for you. So we can connect the mansion world being to an Orion, and the pyramids point to Orion. So that when you go to sleep in the sarcophagus, literally your mind's going to get transported over to the mansion worlds if you do it right. So you're going to go to the place where you die, but you get to go there early and you can bring back information, which is pretty dope. So I'm just saying that. So you get rekeyed, and we just read that in the keys. In the keys, it says, who will reconstruct this present biochemical program to be in tune with the changing electromagnetic frequency. So reconstruct your biological program to get retuned. And that's what it just said right there. Like, you will retain the same Marantra body, but you will get rekeyed each time. And then in the Keys of Enoch, he goes on to say that you'll get this pyramidal energy template that will be placed over your head in order to help you communicate with the higher intelligence, because there's only so much that you can do with your physical body. And it's saying that this is how men will communicate with other intelligences. That's what the keys are saying. Now I'm bringing this over to the Urantia book. And this is from the Mansion Worlds. Part 10, Jerusalem citizenship. So we can say Orion's belt citizenship. The reception of a new class of Mansion World graduates is the signal for all Jerusalem to assemble as a committee of welcome. Even the Spornasia enjoy the arrival of these triumphant ascenders of evolutionary origin, those who have run the planetary race and finished the Mansion World progression. Only the physical controllers and Marantia power supervisors are absent from these occasions of rejoicing. John the Revelator, from Revelations in the Bible, John, the guy who wrote that, John the Revelator saw this vision of the arrival of a class of advancing mortals from the seventh mansion world to their first heaven, the glories of Jerusalem. He recorded, and I saw, as it were, a sea of glass mingled with fire, and those who had gained the victory over the mark of the beast that was originally in them, and over the image that persisted through the mansion worlds, and finally over the last mark and trace, standing on the sea of glass, having harps of God, and singing the song of deliverance from mortal fear and death. So that's from the Bible. And then in quotes it says, perfected space communication is to be had on all of these worlds. And your anywhere reception of such communications is made possible by carrying the harp of God, a Marantia contrivance compensating for the inability to directly adjust to the immature Marantia sensory mechanism to the reception of space communications.
It's talking about cell phones. We got Marantia cell phones. This is in the 30s, 20s and 30s. They're predicting you'll have some kind of handheld pocket device fits in your pocket that you can communicate with others.
Or it could be a crystalline pyramid that hovers above your head.
Could be something a little more like this. Little spherical crystal device that... Hello? Who's there?
And then you can see like holographic images in your mind, and you can get the space broadcast. So I made that connection when I read that paragraph. I'm like, oh, it's talking about the mansion worlds. You die, your biological form gets resurrected, you get retuned, and then they give you a fucking piece of technology that allows you to communicate with the space broadcast better.
Space Brothers.
Shout out to the Space Brothers. Shout out to the Marantia worlds. All right. I guess we're almost done with this. Let's get it. Let's get it
We
done,
are
baby.
getting through it.
Got a nice little
All right.
Urantia book Keys of Enoch cross correlation right there.
Yeah. We're gonna go over some characters. I'm curious what this is all about.
Some
So he
fur
says-
letters.
Some fire letters. Over yonder. In terms of the sacred 12 degrees in the middle of the earth, the region of the Golden Belt, 27 degrees to 39 degrees latitude north, that encompasses the zones of initiation. There are 5 special keys that are to be understood in the transference of power. In this region, astronomical consciousness scrolls will be found to explain how a great cataract of fire shall open the magnetism of this aeon. The legions of beings shall descend on the length and breadth of the earth to receive the righteous who are the gatherers of the treasures of faith. These 144,000 ascended beings will create a light projection around the great white throne in the midst of the earth. It's interesting he's got these characters over the paragraphs, but I don't think there's an explanation of these.
No, it's just 1, 2, 3 ABC.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, that's why you'll see him over and over again. He's just using the Hebrew form.
Oh,
Because remember,
I see.
A in Hebrew means 1, B means 2, C means 3.
Okay. In this sacred region in the midst of the earth, the elect will be seen as the messianic key holders, the priesthood of explaining how the circle of the earth's axis and the arc of Alpha Draconis will be opened and removed from the mid-heavens. Their keys will proclaim how the white shepherds of Taurus Orion, the mansion of the greatest bulls, and the legion of the Lamb, the region of the Christ, will reign over the remnant seed. I feel like that's a heavily symbolic paragraph there.
Yeah, me too. And it spoke to me right there. That's crazy. That's us. That's the legacy, baby. If you're tuned into the channel and you're joining the cause, that's you. We're the priesthood of We're the elect. We have the messianic keys that we're studying now by going over this information, and we're trying to spread the seed to the rest of our brothers and sisters. That's what we're doing. We're the priesthood of and then we're going to explain all these truths so that the truth of the stars can come down to planet Earth. The shepherds, we will proclaim how the white shepherds of Taurus Orion. Orion, we just talked about. That's the mansion worlds. Orion is in the Taurus constellation. So Taurus Orion, the mansion of the greatest bulls. That's the coolest way. That's the first time I've ever heard the mansion worlds referred to as that. The mansion of the greatest bulls. That's badass. Because the mansion worlds are in that Taurus constellation. And then it says in the region of the Lamb, which is we all know is Christ. The region of the Lamb. He's the Lamb of God in the region of Christ. So he's talking about the cosmic ascension schemes of Jerusalem being locked in with the reign and government of Michael, not that Luciferian ascension crap, not the right star of Orion's belt, and then he's saying that will reign over the remnant seed. That's pretty cool. The rest of the people that stand up for the kingdom, baby.
And the priesthood of I wonder if he's referring to, per the Urantia book, the Salem missionaries, because we know Urartu, as the Urantia book kind of lays out, there's an ancient civilization up there in Turkey, the Urartians, and we got Lake Van up there, and there's a submerged temple.
And they were just as old as the Sumerians. Same culture, same pictures, same everything. So just a lot of people forgot about that. They think about the Sumerians, but there's also a breakaway Sumerian civilization, like you're talking about in Turkey, called Urartu. But it's very interesting. Urantia, the Urantia book, Earth, the word Earth, Urth,
Earth.
Yeah. That's true. I think it does refer to the Salem missionaries. That's a very good connection, yeah.
Checks out. This will be the first region of the earth where the Son of Man will quicken the elect who are asleep in the earth by coating every molecule of dust into a new body of life. This will be done by the power exemplified in the golden teardrops in the eyes of the teachers buried at On, Noth, and Akhenaten. Kind of sounds like Akhenaten.
Yeah, Akhenaten built Akhenaten, I'm pretty sure. It's like it's a place.
Okay.
Yeah.
This sacred region will show how the head of days, the father of the Christ light, will use the 9 to reveal with the host the 366 scrolls of Enoch in conjunction with the chamber of the sun. Within the Great Pyramid, which is the chamber of final initiation for the soul, this chamber, in conjunction with the King's Chamber and the Queen's Chamber, is showing mastery over the Earth's three-dimensionality as opposed to the grotto with the granite plug, which is reserved for souls who have failed their assignment to teach in the Earth dimension.
Oh.
From this sacred region, the Paradise Suns will move the 12 energy fields of light around the Earth into a new electromagnetic density. The prayer of the righteous will be heard at this time, and the 12 energy time warps will reveal these cities of light placed upon the Earth to activate the ascension of the faithful. Into the sacred region, Ya'el will send the Ophanim, messengers of light, who will use the divine hawk, Bak, the divine phoenix, Benu, and the divine dove, Ba, to bring the three-sided capstones of light down to man. Now, it's worth keeping in mind, he's talking about Egyptian symbolism here. That's why he's using all these crazy terminologies, kind of cross-correlating Egyptian mythology with the Hebrew religion, with Christianity, and it's a big cross-comparative religious research expedition we're going on here.
Sprinkle in some science and aliens, and you got J.J. Hurtak. But
Yep.
that's why I love it so much. We love cross-comparative research, and the way he speaks, it's like he's done it so much, it's ingrained in the way his neural circuitry. So he'll flip from Egyptian to Tibetan to this, but they're all correlated because there's only the one truth. And it's beautiful how you can speak the one truth in different languages. To me, that's speaking in tongues. So shout out to JJ. He doesn't do that. Nope, he don't do that. He does it like this. And honestly, I get a lot more information out of this way of speaking tongues, not that other way. But whatever.
Yeah, I'd say. The expanded space of the spiritual mind will behold this trinity of light, which will show man how he will be resurrected through the righteous light of Merkaba. The expanded space of the spiritual mind will behold the phoenix becoming the 24-winged vehicle spoken of in Kabbalah, having within its winged formations the potential for programming 1,000 consciousness time cells, which will be used for new regions of transplanting the remnant of man. Now, what the heck is he talking about there? Because he mentioned that earlier. What did he say? He said that earlier. Will reign over the remnant seed. What is this remnant of man? Is that supposed to be like the sleeping survivors or something like that?
I'm thinking that he's talking about man post-rebellion, if that makes sense.
Okay.
Like,
okay.
Once he might be hinting at cataclysm too. You know, like some type of catastrophe might happen, which will change the economy of the world. And then from that, the elect will start to gain power and will be in charge of the cities of light, like the sanctuary points. And then that will be the remnant seed. And then we'll be the teachers. The elect will be teaching that remnant seed, transplanting the remnant of man. Yeah, I'm guessing that's what he's talking about. Like, once we get over this dark phase of reality and start entering into like back into the Galactic Federation.
Okay, I know that's what all the religious prophecies hint at. The Book of Revelations and John's dream he had is crazy night sweat, night terror of the Book of Revelations. The Hopi prophecy, it all kind of hints at, we'll reach this point in time where we're overpopulated, but we're still living under that Babylon system, which I imagine John the Revelator saw this in his dream because he was aware of this Babylon culture, which was prevalent in the Roman mystery schools and the Roman Empire. He probably foresaw the fall of the Roman Empire, but sure enough, that culture still survives into the modern day Western civilization. It'll probably take the purging of that Babylon culture. We just got to get it out of our system.
Putting material before humans. That's that Babylonian culture.
Even though it's a prophetic dream, it's probably just a very logical prediction of what happens if this culture runs its course. We're gonna buy up every plot of land on the planet, dig up every mine there is to dig up,
kill people because we want rocks. kill
Yeah,
people
well,
because we want liquids. Like, it's fucking
we're
weird.
still at that point. Why do you think Russia is trying to invade Ukraine? You know, it's like
Exactly.
every modern warfare taking place right now is for resources, and it's hidden behind all these political motives and mental gymnastics to try to validate what you're doing.
And there's a way
But
to
yeah,
get these resources out of the ground where everybody benefits. They're only fighting so
believe it.
that a few people can get all of the profits. You know, it's kind of stupid. Like, we should consider all the resources on Earth for all of humanity. I know I'm not going to dive into this little tirade, but I make the stupid joke. It'd be the world. We could stop all wars if everybody became America. Haha, I know it's stupid. I do some stand up and I say some edgy shit. I know that's not really feasible nowadays, and that's insensitive. That's culturally insensitive, Dedrick. I get it. But it's just for the sake of the joke and the mental image. It's like America. If Canada and Mexico, if we banded together and became America, we'd be a super country, super continent, and no one could touch us. Russia, a country, no one would be able to touch us because the Mexicans and the Canadians and the Americans are now one super freaking Robotron country. It gets rid of the border crisis. Mexicans get citizenship. No more, none of that weird motivation and urge to get across an illegal border because it's not there anymore. Everybody's happy. But it's like now we'll start selling citizenship to the rest of the world. You want to be part of America? All right. Greenland. All right. Europe. All right. Whatever. But the thing would be like, now expand that to the entire world. Say the entire world is the United States. When we find an oil reserve over in the European part of the United States, we won't just try to rape it from the local people. It'll just like get added to the reserve list and be like, okay, so for that region, we'll use it for those people, and that's it. Okay, then we'll find another one in this region for those people, so that people aren't like fighting over it. You know, what I'm trying to say is that we're all looking at it from the same team side. Like, we're not trying to fuck someone over. It's like in the United States, if we find a reserve of resources in the United States, we're not going to withhold it from the other states. We're going to share the wealth. You know, it's like, you get the picture I'm trying to paint. And
yeah, that's the great challenge, is that China has their way of running things, Russia has their way of running things, and we're still at this uncomfortable point where we haven't agreed on like how we should run the world. And then of course there's this double-edged sword, because the whole concept of the New World Order and the great work that the secret societies have been talking about, I mean, it's a good idea in a way, but if it's implemented through force and total control and manipulation,
defeats the
like a
purpose
police
already.
state,
Yep.
it defeats the purpose. It's got to be a cooperative effort. We're all on the same page. We all maintain our integrity. That's what's great about like the United States. You have these different states. They each have their own football team. You know, they got their own tribal identity, but we're still on the same page, and we can kind of let things run their course slowly and evolve. Now, we all know there are elements within the U.S. military that don't see things that way, that we should still kind of take things through force. But that's why what we need the most is a spiritual revolution. I think all of our
Amen.
greatest problems transcend politics altogether. They're spiritual. And that would be the one true like collective human race kind of culture. It would be a spiritual one. It wouldn't be a materialistic new world order enforced through power and control. It would be, what's the word?
A
The word
utopian order through individual freedom and responsibility.
Consensual. That's the word I'm looking for. It'd be consensual.
Yeah,
Everyone
consensual.
consents to it.
Mm-hmm. Yes, 100% all parties consenting. And that is honestly why we created this channel. This is our one endeavor. We know we're a small organization, but we know that great things can be done with small people. Look at Jesus and the apostles, for example. He chose regular carpenters and regular fishermen, and they flipped the world on its head, you know? So it can be done with small YouTube channels like what we're doing. With small groups of people banding together, it can be done. And I think this is the way it's going to be. This is the organic way that nature heals herself. So we're trying to do it through, I guess you would say, unorthodox means, new techniques, going outside the norm, not going through the traditional institutionalized this and that and suits and ties. You know, maybe there's new ways to do it. And that's why we chose to hit the internet, hit the streets and hit the internet like what we're doing right now. we're actually trying to create, I say it all the time, a mind, body, spirit application that will substitute current social media. Social media, you get likes because you got a fat ass, because you got a lot of money, you got a lot of diamonds, all that good, all that stupid shit, all those distortions that are on planet Earth that are holding society back. We keep practicing those over and over again. It just holds every human back 1,000 years. So we got to weed that out of our system. It's like doing drugs. You got to stop doing it. We can substitute these thoughts with thoughts of mind, body, spirit progress. And that's why we're creating this app. Instead of getting likes for showing money and showing boobs, you're going to get likes for how you progress in your mind, body, and spirit. And that'll be the algorithm. And then you can link up with people who are in your area. And once you do it with 3 other people on the Legacy app, and you guys go on a hike, or you guys go learn how to shoot arrows, it'll compound the amount of points you get so that your personality profile level goes up. And that's how you gain up. That's how you get likes and go up, by actually growing in the mind, body, spirit together. And you get incentivized to do it with other people. And while, you know, monthly prizes you can win based off how many points you gain, that kind of stuff. More about the app later, but that's what I think will help take the planet back from this tyrannical type of leadership, the deep state that we were talking about. We need to bring it to the brotherhood of man, the sisterhood of mankind. So on screen, you see right here, this is our very beginning. There's other ways to do it. You can donate. We got Venmo and Patreon, and I want to thank everybody for their donations. We got some messages coming back to you guys soon, because a lot of you guys replied to us, and we got some messages coming, so keep it locked for that. But look on screen, and we do have these shirts. They are only $30. We only make a $9 profit. Every $9 is going to go back to creating this app and also creating some real life in-person legacy buildings. So if you want to contribute to the cause, if you want to take back the planet from the deep state reptilians, or if you just want to see the planet get to that next stage of light in life, that next stage of the Galactic Federation, of planet Earth becoming a cosmic civilization as opposed to just the 21st century dystopian electric technological civilization.
Matrix.
We don't want to live there. So let's do it. You can do it. You can contribute it by buying one of these shirts. You get the legacy blasted across your chest. We have a couple different iterations. You can put it across your back too. We got the logo up there so people you can show that trippy mind, body, spirit pattern. That's our YouTube symbol as well. You stare at that thing for too long, and I swear to God, you'll start seeing the celestials. But like I said, we only make $9 off it. $21 to manufacture. Go check it out. The link is in the description. And with you buying this, it's a total 360 win. You get some cool swag, and you get to contribute to building that mind, body, spirit kingdom that our planet needs ever so badly. So check out this shirt. Just wanted to show you guys that. Don't forget to hit that like button to get the video to the front page. And if you like what we're saying, your mind might start doing circles because what we're talking about is so deep, and you might forget to hit that subscribe button. So I'm going to remind you right now, in the 3rd dimension, hit that subscribe button. And let's finish out this Keys of Enoch, unless my boy Magma got some more fire to spit.
Now, D-Bake, you brought to my mind a Urantia quote, which I gotta share. You're talking about how we're a small organization. You know, we're just a few people, but we can actually make some progress in a deeper, more meaningful way than these great corporations and corporate entities and institutions with thousands of people just sitting on their asses. And this brings me back to this quote from paper 112, Personality Survival. The actual quote is on 112, 116. Personality cannot very well perform in isolation. Man is innately a social creature. He is dominated by the craving of belongingness. It is literally true, no man lives unto himself. But the concept of the personality as the meaning of the whole of the living and functioning creature means much more than the integration of relationships. It signifies the unification of all factors of reality, as well as a coordination of relationships. Relationships exist between 2 objects, but 3 or more objects eventuate a system, and such a system is much more than just an enlarged or complex relationship. This distinction is vital, for in a cosmic system, the individual members are not connected with each other except in relation to the whole, and through the individuality of the whole. In the human organism, the summation of its parts constitutes selfhood, individuality, but such a process has nothing whatever to do with personality, which is the unifier of all these factors as related to cosmic realities.
Sure.
In aggregations, parts are added. In systems, parts are arranged. Systems are significant because of organization, positional values. In a good system, all factors are in cosmic position.
Hell yeah.
In a bad system, something is either missing or displaced, deranged.
Ooh.
In the human system, it is the personality which unifies all activities and in turn imparts the qualities of identity and creativity. So when we
Amen.
create a system where each personality is in their perfect position, where they can make the most of themselves, you know, everyone's got a different skill. You may suck at math, but you're a great cook. You may suck at cooking, but you're a math wizard. And, you know, birds of a feather flock together. So generally you get compartmentalization where we all trail off into our little departments of specialty and we meet with those individuals. But if we were to create a system that can unify holistically every different type of human being, all 16 Myers-Briggs personality types, making the most out of what each individual has to offer, we can create something truly beautiful on this planet.
Amen, brother. You guys taking in those mental pictures you just put in your brain? I hope you're digesting it. I hope you weren't just playing on your phone or something. Spitting that truth right there, boy. We can band together and we can do it. And no, we can't do it. We will fucking do it. So
we will do it.
Buy a shirt or make a donation. Either one. It helps. And you know we're going to take that money and we're going to run with it. We're going to run all the way up to fucking the mansion worlds and we are going to build it regardless. There's nothing else left for me on this planet other than to build this shit. So if you, with your contribution, we will get it done. I have nothing else to work for. That's my life mission. So let's finish this.
Copy that.
Let's finish this chapter real quick. Again, I love you guys. Thanks for being here. Thanks for the chats. Hit that like button. Really appreciate that. If you like what we're doing, you want to keep supporting the stream, hit all them like buttons, share it to your grandma. Say, hey, grandma, before you die, you need to learn this shit. All right. Let's finish it out. This will be a time when the pyramid of infinite love will call forth the children of light and say, I call thee to my abiding place within other worlds of light. This will be a time when the luminaries will correct and repair our vehicle of time within the necessary magnetic circulatory levels of ionized consciousness. This will be the time of a making of a new people within new matter energy bodies who will reign in other fields of glory. Therefore, the teachings of Enoch tell us of a new electromagnetic wavelength upon the earth that will change the old magnetic forces of the body into the magnetic harmonies of the 5th, 6th, and 7th dimension, so as to work with the higher evolution of our local universe. See, that sounds a lot about like the Kali Yuga, the Mayan Baktun system, and how Earth is moving into a different sector of intergalactic space that has different electromagnetic properties, which will affect our psyche and consciousness, which is supposedly started happening at 2012 with the Mayan Aztec predictions. So it started ramping up. You guys can admit, ever since 2012, reality has started to ramp up. 6th, 7th dimension, here we fucking come. And that'll allow us to work closer with the higher evolution of our local universe. And I think that's what we're starting to see in all this UAP disclosure, why all the vehicles are starting to be seen more. And remember, this is written in 73. Also, what I want to keep in the back of my mind, that the Celestials, they're all from the same universe. So when you read the Uranus book and you read the Keys of Enoch, they're talking about the same cosmic setup. There is no other cosmic setup to talk about. There's only one. I feel like when Enoch brought this to Hurtak, he obviously knew the Uranus book existed at the time on planet Earth. And it was supposed to be supplemental. So when you read this, I truly feel like if you have those Uranus concepts in your mind, this is just supplemental and it helps you. It builds off those light images so that you can see the picture a little bit better. So because we're coming into it with these concepts, I feel like we can see the pictures. What is this? Do, re, mi, fa, sol, la, ti, do?
Yeah, I got in this book here, In Search of Being, The Fourth Way to Consciousness by Gurdjieff. He describes kind of this scale, this harmonic scale, how you have kind of a space between octaves, and he applies that to a few things. He applies it to the human body. You got a material body, then you got like a causal body and a spiritual body. And likewise, in all of reality, we have the entire electromagnetic spectrum as one octave of a scale. And beyond that, beyond our reach, beyond the limitations of our electronic instrumentation, there are countless other octaves of reality above us. And that seems to be what this is talking about here. You know, it's what the New Age community talks about, moving up to a higher dimension, the fourth dimension, fifth dimension, whatever. But, you know, overlaid over reality right here, it's still real, but there are hidden realities just on higher octaves that we just can't reach quite yet.
And this isn't a fairy tale, people. This is real. So apply it to your lives, act accordingly. Now, we're not saying that every little leaf that falls by you or every little wind gust that goes by you is an angel telling you to do stuff, just because there is another dimension there. So don't go that far, but understand there is another dimension overlaid, superimposed, but unperceptible by human beings. This is the time when the great tectonic plates of the earth will shift in relationship to specific star points, and the body of flesh will put on the body of light. This is the time when death shall be swallowed up in victory and reign no more. And there will be great lights, and these lights will be our fathers who tell us, "Rejoice, O children of righteousness, for you have been glorified in the eternal splendor of the Zohar forever." The Zohar splendor will be when the ascension of the Sphinx vehicle will open the free path of the light ray into the space of the human universe. It will be the time when man will understand how the Lords of Light, Amenhotep, was able to wear the face of the lion in the presence of human flesh. It will be at the time when the righteous mankind will wear the face of the Lion of Judah as he ascends to the Kessel Orion. In the name of the living Son of David, the Christos. Amen.
The Christos.
Yeah, he does write poetically. He's a great writer.
Interesting.
I'm going to put on the lion face right now. You see my mane? Got it on me right now as I ascend up into Kessel Orion. In the name of the Son of Christ. Amen. That's his heart.
Christos. Yeah, that's very poetic. Mm-hmm. That last page, is that in relation to this paper, or is that the next
No, that's the beginning of the next one, yeah.
Okay.
Talk about the black cube in Mecca. Yep, we finished it. Amen. Screen high five. And to all the viewers out there, I appreciate it. I appreciate rocking with us. Nice and quick today. I don't really have too much else to say. I'm good. I'll leave it at that.
Yeah, we'll continue to speculate what these chambers under the pyramid actually are, and who knows, in our lifetime we might actually get some answers. I'm looking forward to it.
Oh yeah, me too.
The next few years.
Y'all keep buying them shirts, and we're gonna freaking fund an expedition, and we're just gonna excavate underneath it at night. We won't even let the Egyptian authorities know, but we'll live stream it so you can see what's under there before we get arrested. And so buy yourself a shirt. Hit that subscribe button, hit that like button. We love you guys. We're back to our Sunday schedule. So next Sunday, we'll be coming at you with DUMBs, deep underground military bases, talking about go from ancient today, it's Egyptology and the Hurtak, then we'll go to what we're going through in the military industrial complex, how these secrets have been kept by deep state government. And there's actually paperwork and documents to prove this. What's funny, somebody on Reddit just leaked a video. I don't know if I should be saying this on live stream, but they had like a super zoom lens at night with night vision, and they got footage of the radar cross-section test facility at Helendale Air Force Base and Tejon Ranch, one of the top secret radar testing facilities. They're testing an unknown aerial platform, and you can see it like they raise it out and they start like bombarding it with like its radio waves to see the radar cross section. It's fucking crazy. But we'll show you guys that next Sunday.
Next Sunday.
All the comments are like, dude, the black suits are gonna be at your door pretty soon, fool. But all right.
You know, I'm a big Half-Life fan, big Black Mesa fan. I'm working on Operation Black Mesa Opposing Force remake. This has got to be my favorite subject. It is the most interesting thing in the world to me, is deep underground military bunkers. So I'm looking forward to it.
Oh yeah, breakaway civilizations. It's so interesting. I don't want to talk for another 5 minutes, but gosh dang, think about that. 16 three-story buildings, 2,000 feet below the ground, all connected by maglev trains. Like, you can't even fathom that. They have cities underneath the ground. Like, what are they doing down there? what kind of crafts are down there. We're going to go deep into it next Sunday, so keep it locked. Debake the Wise, Magma Sloth. Tuning out. Till next Sunday. Peace, guys.
Peace.